We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, December 12th, and welcome to News Generation. I'm Cheska Dain-hong, and I'll be replacing our lovely Song Yoo-jin throughout the week. She'll be back with us starting next Monday. Now, in the studio this morning, we're joined by Brooke Prince.
Hello, lovely to see you.
So lovely to see you, and Kang Moon-ju.
Happy Thursday.
Welcome to the studio. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. Now, it's Thursday, so let's begin with this morning's keyword news prepared just for you. Now, today's keyword is Kang Nobel Prize. Now, this Tuesday, writer Kang became the first Korean and first Asian woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. At the award ceremony that took place in Sweden, she gave a poignant speech saying, quote, "The work of reading and writing literature stands in opposition to all acts that destroy life, and in the darkest night there is language that connects us to one another." The speech, will have lasted for about 4 minutes, touched upon the importance of empathy and human connection, which really run through in many of her own works. Now, this is most certainly a monumental time for all of us, and if you have been following us at News Generation, we've committed a couple of episodes to talk about her work, and her speech definitely highlighted the importance of unity through literature. So we're going to turn to our panelist here, and could you briefly share your thoughts and takeaways from her speech?
Yeah, I was so touched by her speech. First of all, I can't pinpoint what was the thing that really touched me inside, but everything from her speech, her voice, her attitude, and how the sincerity that she showed towards the literature throughout the speech, that really kind of resonated with me for a while. Her speech was less about 4 minutes, I think,
Yeah.
as just you mentioned, but it will last a lot longer than 4 minutes for
Wow.
me. And
That's a beautiful statement.
one phrase that that really resonated with me, besides what you mentioned just earlier, was I have wanted to know the reason we are born, the reason suffering and love exists, and the question that has been asked by the literature for thousands of years. This is the writer's quote,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
So I thought by throwing this question, she well expressed where her novels are directed towards, and how meticulously she treats the literature by herself. So I think it was a very great speech. Yeah.
And I loved your statement about how even though the speech only lasted for about 4 minutes, it will probably last a lot longer in the hearts of all the readers.
It made history, certainly.
And all the viewers that are watching. What about you, Brooke?
Well, I have to say you can really tell that she's a writer from how she gives speeches. She's such an eloquent speaker. Yes. And I really enjoyed and appreciated the fact that she gave a shout out to translators.
Yes.
As someone who has a master's degree in Korean English interpretation and translation, I know exactly how difficult it is to translate literature. And I really love that she pointed out that even though she hadn't met all of her translators and interpreters, she still felt a connection and a bond with them, which really exemplifies the theme of unity. And I also think her speech resonated with people because we can all remember what it's like to feel healing through books. I remember when I was a kid and I would curl up with my favorite book on a bad day. It just made everything better, right? And every time you go into a new story, you meet new characters that have different emotions and motivations and tensions. And so I think through reading, you can increase your own emotional intelligence and empathy. And I think that's really what she was emphasizing, is that we can connect to people through books.
I love that statement that you just mentioned, and I think people who are watching this or have heard about the news of Kang, winning the Nobel Prize, really find the beauty and the magic in reading once again. So that was our keyword news for this Thursday. Now, moving on to our main discussion of the day, we have something very sweet prepared for you, and I mean quite literally. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
Do you have a sweet tooth? With the rise of popularity in K-content and K-cuisine, more people around the world are craving something sweet and special from Korea. From rice cakes to seasonal snacks, K-dessert has captured the attention of global fans. What is your favorite K-dessert?
It is almost impossible to talk about K-culture without K-food, and today is all about Korean sweets, especially popular among young people. And Brooke, you and I already have a sweet tooth.
So excited.
So this is our very favorite topic. I hope our viewers are excited. Now, Moonju, how and why are K desserts gaining so much popularity?
Yeah, I think MZ generation is probably the group most familiar with K-dramas and K-movies, right?
Yep.
Especially those from like over-the-top platforms or the OTT platforms like Netflix or something. And those from those platforms, Korean original series are grabbing global attention. So, like for instance, Sugar Honeycomb, we say 달고나 in Korean, from Squid Game 1, a series that engaged so many global fans and is expected to release season 2 shortly, as we talked about.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, just yesterday. Has attracted global MZers. So not only did they want to try it, but they also wanted to like. So many global fans, they try to make one themselves and cut it into shape of umbrella, which is very like increasingly interesting moments of the show of Squid Game 1. And also the song 밤양갱, Chestnut Jelly in English,
Yes.
by Korean K-pop singer BB, became a sensation in South Korea, which kind of naturally led so many global fans to be interested in this Korean traditional desserts. And so these being only some of very many examples, we can say a tremendous global interest in like K contents naturally induced so many global MZ Korean fans, global fans to be interested in K dessert and K food.
Yeah, and Munju, as you mentioned, K-food and K-content are quite obviously inseparable when it comes to, Squid Game or music. I think they're all very much tied together. Now, Brooke, there are also some very traditional desserts that are becoming popular. Could you introduce some for us?
That's right. Well, I actually just came back from the US. I went there for Thanksgiving, and I have to say we had more desserts on our table than actual food. And one of my sisters even asked me to bring her some convenience store snacks because she has been watching these viral videos of Korean food.
Oh my God.
And so she wanted to try as many as I could fit in my suitcase. So as you can see on screen, I really tried to give her a nice variety of foods. And one of the snacks she really liked was a dessert. It was bang filled with cream and red bean paste, which is one of those quintessential Korean flavors, right? It's a very popular ingredient in Korean desserts. You can also find it in bugopang, which is a fish-shaped bread that's filled with that yummy red bean paste. It's a very popular street food dessert that is especially tasty during the cold winter months because it's nice and warm and soothing. Some of my other Korean desserts include yagwa, which is a traditional Korean honey cookie, and hodok. I love hodok. It's a pancake that has a delicious sweet filling. Now, just like my sister, there are many young MZers that are really discovering Korean foods through social media. One of the big examples I have for you today is called gurdok cereal. This has recently gone viral. What people do is they buy these rice cakes filled with honey, that's the gurdok. They have a bowl of milk and they put the gurdok in it and they eat it like cereal. Now, some of them say the best way to eat it is by sort of mashing up the gurdok so that the honey will seep into the milk, making it even sweeter. They say that the texture is similar to bubble tea because it has a certain chewiness that many find appealing. And I love bubble tea, so I think I might give this a try. But what do you guys think about gurdok cereal as Koreans?
I
What do you
know.
think?
I must preface, as a Korean, when you first said it, thinking of rice cake as a cereal is quite unthinkable, right?
No, not at all.
It's more of a finger food.
Right.
But when you mentioned that it tastes more like a bubble tea once you mash it, I'm going to be honest, I might not try it, but it makes sense, in my opinion.
I'll try it.
Oh, you try
Don't
it.
worry, I'll try it.
try it for you. We'll let
I'll
you
try
know.
it, yeah.
So you have one vote from the studio.
Yeah. I'll let you know next time.
Please do.
Yeah.
I'm so curious. Now, you mentioned gurdok, honey
Yes.
rice cake, which I think is a very important segue, or delving more into the topic of today, which is that, as name stands, tok, a traditional but also a long-standing dessert in Korea, is actually made from rice. But this might be unfamiliar to some overseas consumers who are more used to, I would say, like cake and bread that are flour-based, right? Just like you and I. So we're really curious to know, why do you think these type of rice-based desserts are actually gaining popularity?
Well, I do think this flavor and texture is unfamiliar to foreigners. It certainly was to me before I moved to Korea, but luckily I was pleasantly surprised by the texture. I really enjoyed the chewiness, and to this day, tteokbokki is one of my favorite Korean meals. But of course, like we said earlier, I do have a sweet tooth, so desserts are my favorite, and I personally love rice cakes. They can be made into tteokbokki, like you're seeing on the stream, but they can also be used for sweet foods like seongpyeon, which is typically eaten during Chuseok. And then there are many other different kinds of varieties like chapsal, jeolpyeon, and injeolmi, which is one of my favorites. And all of them have their own unique charms. Now, the success of these desserts overseas is reflected in the numbers as well. Exports of rice processed foods such as rice cakes and rice snacks from January to October this year amounted to $250 million, up more than 40% year on year. And interestingly, my home country of the USA accounted for 52.8% of Korea's total exports of these rice-based desserts. So they are becoming quite popular in the USA. And they say that this is probably due to the growing interest in convenient and healthy foods abroad. Now, we've talked about gurdok cereal, which doesn't exactly scream healthy, but typically foreigners, when they see rice, they think healthy. And so because of that reason alone, we're seeing that these K desserts are becoming more popular. And of course, like we've been talking about today, a lot of consumers want to try the K food that they're seeing in their favorite K content. So the Korean wave is also something that we can thank for the popularity of K desserts around the world.
K-wave also, but as you mentioned, rice kind of had this brand image
It does.
of it being healthier option.
Right.
So this is quite interesting because if we think about the fact that here in South Korea, rice consumption is actually decreasing, especially among the young crowd, like those in 20s and 30s. And we actually covered it here in NewsGen also. So the fact that they're consuming less rice as a staple diet, but the rice processed goods are actually on the rise. Now, why do you think so, Moon-jin? Could you give us some numbers to back this up?
Yeah, of course. First of all, I'm the one who's reducing the consumption
so we
of
have
rice,
one here.
but increasing the consumption of like rice-produced goods, which I find pointless of me reducing the rice. I don't know. But yeah, just moving on to numbers, like South Korea reported the highest export records of rice processed goods last year. So the yearly export amount of rice processed goods has been rising every year since 2015. The amount first surpassed the $100 million in 2019. Then just within 5 years, hitting the peak at $220 million in 2023, first exceeding the $200 million mark. And in fact, South Korea has been overproducing rice, which led the government to come up with policies encouraging producers to produce rice processed goods. So one of the recent policies is vitalizing the rice flour industry, which contributed to the idea of this delicious sweet rice processed goods desserts.
Yes.
So yeah, these are some like trends that are moving on within the rice in South Korea.
And this is a very interesting fact because, as you mentioned, as a staple diet, we're seeing a less of consumption, but the rice processed goods and even the variety of the food that are happening in the market is actually growing. So now we're even more curious to know if and how our international viewers have responded, and we asked them for their favorite Korean snacks and desserts. Now here are some of their responses. Now definitely Jig said, my favorite is yakgwa, very soft and sweet. I've never had anything like it. The future _27 said, my all-time favorite is 팥빙수, hands down. And me too 6599 said, 꽈배기. Oh, I would so agree with all of our viewers. Now to learn more about the charm of K-desserts, we'll be joined by a global millennial who loves K-dessert. Join us after the break.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Today we're joined by Madina Gaibuliyeva, an Uzbeki millennial who loves K-dessert. Good morning, Madina.
Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. Now let's talk about some delicious and sweet stuff. Now, how popular are K-desserts in your country?
In my country, it's really famous because of Korean drama, K-pop, and K-beauty. It's getting more popular in Uzbekistan, even Korean desserts. And there are a lot of cafes and dessert shops like specializing into Korean cuisine, as well as to the Korean desserts. The most popular dessert in my country is bingsu. It's shaved ice desserts. This is really refreshing. Why it's enjoyable and favorite dessert of the Uzbek people, because it's really hot in summertime in Uzbekistan, and people mostly look for some desserts, some sweets like refreshing. And the other dessert is tok, which is rice, Korean rice cakes. It's also famous. In Uzbekistan, we have in every region, we have Korean education centers, and their students are already well known about Korean desserts. Even they make by themselves and eat, really enjoy the rice cakes. Yes, I'm also was a teacher when I was in my home country, so we could make a talk and some Korean cuisines and could enjoy it.
That's fantastic.
And also, yes, and also when I went to Uzbekistan last time, I realized that there is a special place which called Seoul Moon. Now it is the area where you can try Korean desserts. And that time I tried talgona in Uzbekistan, so it became really famous after the Squid Game drama. Yes, yeah.
Hi, Medina. Thank you so much for being with us today. So you talked a bit about some of the favorite desserts in your country in general, but we're curious, what is your personal favorite pick when it comes to Korean desserts? And could you give us your recommendation?
Yes, my favorite Korean desserts are really two. The first of them was 붕어빵. It was the first dessert which I tried after coming to Korea. And I really didn't know about it before, about this dessert. But after trying it, I really use it to eat it, to try it every day after my classes. So I love that the red beans inside of 붕어빵 and creamy one. And the other, my favorite Korean dessert is bingsu. Yeah, I like it really. It's how to say, you can choose by yourself what to put there. Maybe some fresh fruits. You can choose like mango or some like melon, kind of, and it's really soft.
Yeah, interesting. And again, thanks for joining with us today. Our last question for you today is: are there any items you've only heard of and curious to try it?
Sorry.
Oh, could you repeat the question?
My last question was: are there any items you've only heard of and curious to try it by yourself?
Oh, yes. If you know, it's really nowadays, it's really popular Dubai chocolate, and I'm really curious to try here in Korea, Dubai in Dunkin' Donuts, Dubai donut. So I want to try it because it's not. I think, in my opinion, it's not only dessert or only like sweet something, but it connects like. Tradition, and it connects the country's tradition, and I'm really curious to try it very soon.
Medina, we're so happy that you joined us, but we're also really happy to hear that K-dessert is actually becoming very popular. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, for those of you who are watching, some might be actually curious about where and how they can get their hands on these delicacies that we have talked about so far. And it actually seems to be really gaining popularity, as we heard from Medina. So could you help us out here, Book?
Yes, like I said earlier, I did just come back from the USA, and I was very pleasantly surprised by the sheer presence of Korean products everywhere I went. I could find them on the shelves, I could find restaurants to go to. So I think as the Korean wave really positively influences the popularity of these Korean products, we're going to see them become more accessible and easier to find in other parts of the world. So if you are lucky enough to live near a Korean supermarket, I would recommend going over there and checking out and trying some of the many products that we mentioned today. If you do not live near a Korean supermarket, don't worry. You can also order many products from many online retailers. Or if you have a relative who lives in Korea like myself, you can just be like my sister and ask them to bring you a whole suitcase full of snacks.
You can always resort to your family chances,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, what about Munju? Where else could they access these Korean delicacies?
Family chance is the best. But
is.
if you don't have a family chance, you don't have a supermarket nearby, you could try yourself. Let's do DIY. So actually, the recipes for various K-desserts are all available online.
That's
It's
very true.
And it's very easy to like try yourself. So you can start with sugar honeycomb, like 달고나 we talked about. And also there's a thing called kurungji, which is a combination of croissant.
It's
and
good.
yeah, it is very good. Croissant and nurungji. So and they're very easy to cook. So I'm a very bad cook, but I will try someday. So let's try together, DIY together. Yeah.
You know, Munju vouched for it. Even if you can't cook, he did say it's easy. So you
Yeah.
have the option of using family chances or going to the Kmart or doing it on your own. Now that's all from us today. Thank you all for joining us. NewsGen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Brooke
Thank you so much. Had a great time.
and Kang Munju.
Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. And that's all for us today, everyone. See you tomorrow. We are News
Generation.
Generation.